Hi. So I'll do a little bit of talking before I get into it because this game is really, really fast and furious. So this is obviously the 6th entry in the King's Quest series. It's notable because King's Quest was created by a woman, Roberta Williams. This particular game was mostly written by 2 women, Roberta Williams and Jane Jensen. So I love that for a marathon like this. The story is just Prince Alexander is basically what I like to call the quest for booty. He falls in love with a girl, goes out searching for her, he gets shipwrecked, needs to find her, save her from the bad guy, standard stuff. I'll also quickly plug, we have an incentive for this. At the end of the run, we get to sing Girl in the Tower, which is the most bad 90s game that you've ever heard, 90s song, I should say, that you've ever heard. So please, please donate to that incentive, support Malala Fund. Okay, we're gonna get started. So let me count it down. Time starts when I press play. So we're gonna do 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so at the top, we're just grabbing stuff on the beach. I'm gonna take this time to talk about zips. So you may notice that Alex is walking very, very fast on some of these screens. So that is what we like to call a zip. So a zip, oops, 1 second, gotta talk to him twice, is that basically, since this game was originally released for DOS back in 1992, it was not meant to run on modern CPUs. And nowadays we run it, of course, in DOSBox, an emulator. So what happens when you run the emulator at max cycles is that it starts to use your computer's CPU to determine the speed that is going to do certain things. One of those is walking, right? So we get things like that, because it's usually just on throttled speed, basically. So yeah, so it goes very, very quick. Hold on 1 second. I'm very nervous, so I'm making a little bit of mistakes. We're okay. So yeah, so zips are extremely helpful. We discovered them, oh gosh, I think I accidentally discovered them 5 years ago, but I didn't really know what I discovered. Now they're an extremely integral part of the game, and that basically on every single screen, we're trying to get as many zips as possible. Okay, so now we're coming into the big sequence break in this game. This is called Gnome's Skip. We're gonna completely skip a fetch quest. So I'm gonna do it first, and then I'm gonna explain what I did.
Watch the top of the screen. It's great.
And we did it. Does that just look outrageous? Okay, so what that was is the fetch quest is the gnomes, where you have to get a whole bunch of items to get past the gnomes, who are like a barrier on this island to get further up. So what we do is we catch Alex in that turning animation, which like doesn't count as walking, so you can do stuff during it. So what we do is we open up that magic map, which basically overwrites the room script for that room. So that way it can't run its other room script, which is having the gnomes appear. So the gnomes just don't show up. Which is extremely helpful to us, and it ended up saving about 2 minutes over the run. And that was extremely recently discovered. Shoot, I messed up the zip there. That's okay. Extremely recently discovered about 3-4 weeks ago. So I'm just getting used to it myself, and we're still kind of figuring out the best strat. You can actually do Gnome Skip with a whole mess of different items. Basically anything that causes Alex to do like a little cutscene, you can do it with. So like, for example, you can play the little flute that we just played, and you can do Gnome Skip like that. So he like goes up and plays the flute in the middle of the sky. There's also an invisible ink bottle where you kind of just disappear like that as well. So that's really cool. Get off the screen.
Shout out to the cheese doors, by the way. They're my favorite.
Yes, this island is very, very silly. Everything is a pun. So like those were we're dancing were the wallflowers. There's a rotten tomato there that's very, very rude and nasty. There's iceberg lettuce, which is what we just grabbed. It's a very silly place. This whole game is very silly, which is what makes it so fun. Okay, great. Okay, so next is a really, really cool glitch that I discovered a very long time ago. It was actually the very first, like, what I would actually consider a glitch that I found in this game, which is called the moonwalk glitch. It'll become extremely obvious why I called it that very shortly, but just keep your eyes on Alex. There we go. That's a moonwalk. And then he spins around for a bit too. That's moonwalk. It doesn't particularly save a whole lot of time, but it does look cool. So we all know that that's what's really important in speedruns. Not saving time, but looking cool.
This is a marathon. We like things that look cool.
Exactly. Okay, great. So now we're coming to the most tedious portion of the game. Is what we call the cliffs of logic. I like to call them the cliffs of copyright protection. And that is because when this game came out in 1992, like I said, it came out on DOS first and then later on CD-ROM. It came out on 11 floppy disks. So just imagine that, 11 floppy disks. So if you're old enough, you might remember the phrase, don't copy your floppy. Right? So that was from back in the day, you know, these game developers were very worried. Whew, having a rough time right now. These game developers were very worried that, you know, people would copy the floppy disks and, you know, commit piracy, basically. So they wanted to put some copyright protection inside of these games to prevent such a thing. So what they did with this particular game is they made this entire level of the game, the Cliffs of Logic. And there are little puzzles that we have to solve on our way up these cliffs that are very tedious to climb. And the solutions to these puzzles would be found inside the guidebook to the Land of the Green Isles, which is what came with the game as a paper guide, right? So if you copied your floppy, you probably wouldn't have that guide. So you wouldn't know what to do with these puzzles. Like, for example, that one. That's just 4 notches on a wall. What from this screen could you ever figure out that puzzle? You couldn't. You needed the guide.
I just feel bad for the person like me that would just lose the guide on accident and be stuck forever.
Yeah. And it's not like straight answers as well. It's kind of like some of them are little riddles, like the hieroglyphs. There's like, you know, a translation of like this hieroglyph is A and this is O and etc. And you would have to kind of figure out what word you're trying to spell. So it's not quite, you know, it's still a puzzle, but I think it's a really nice kind of unique way to do copyright protection. Anyway, so the next section of the game is catacombs. So I'm actually going to let Seze take over and explain why the catacombs are important.
Okay, so the catacombs are a really fast-paced portion of the game, which is why I wanted to talk about them. They look absolutely wild to someone who had never seen this before, which was me 2 days ago. And it is a fast-paced zip adventure through the through a old, like, roomy space. She's going to be working really hard to make sure that her zips are going off in perfect succession to make sure that she can get through these places as quickly as possible. And to zip, of course, she has to make sure that her angles are just right, which can be very difficult when you're just going through a linear room. So she's going to be looking to make sure to do that, but also there is a puzzle in this space that she is going to skip, you would also find the answer to this in the Book of Copyright Protection. But instead, she has found that you can just, you know, press one button on the keyboard and walk over it. Or, you know, press that button, leave the room, come back in, and magically appear on the other side of the puzzle like it never even happened.
Alt
but it's really...
Isn't that funny? Just alt.
There it is. And it's really tough to see, so it's going to be something really interesting coming up. You'll see just a lot of zooming.
Exactly. So Catacombs is very mentally taxing, so I'm going to throw it over to donations if you guys have any, so I can focus and try not to mess up the Catacombs. Let's go.
Absolutely. We have $5 from the Flaming Bee. Says Jackie is the bee's knees, bringing King's Quest VI to the masses. Thank you everyone for your hard work on this wonderful event. And I wanted to provide an update on your incentive. We are at $1,485 out of $2,500. So if my math is anywhere near accurate, that's $1,015 left. Got probably what, less than 20 minutes at this point?
Oh, very much less than 20 minutes, yes.
So we can make it happen, but you got to get those donations in now.
I believe, guys, Malala Fund is a really, really excellent charity. You could do a lot worse. So please, please donate. And the song is just, oh my God, it's just amazing. I missed one there.
I just like memes. I would like memes.
It's the bestest meme. It really, really is. It's so bad, it's good. It's so much fun to sing too. I typically sing it every time I get a personal best. So, you know, sometimes I don't get to sing it very often. Hold on, this part's really hard. No!
And guys, you can see she's been zooming through this part, and she's been going at those kind of corner angles, and that's what those zips are, making sure that she can get through here as fast as
We
possible.
did it. We made it through. I didn't miss too many zips, I don't think. Just a little handful. You're never gonna be perfect. Unless, you know, you're really going for world record pace, then you tend to reset a lot after Catacombs if you miss a couple, which is unfortunate. So you lose about 2 or 3 seconds kind of every time you miss a zip on a screen there. So it can be a really brutal part of the run.
And if you all didn't notice, we definitely just cheesed that Minotaur into yeeting himself into lava.
Yep.
Just red blind
Well, it's his
pools,
fault
guys.
for having an open fire pit with no safety precautions. I don't know what he was thinking.
You know.
Okay, great. So during this cutscene, I want to talk about the kind of any percent versus 100%. So the 100% category for this game is getting all of the points. But there are kind of 2 ways to end the game. There's a short path and there's a long path. So obviously in any percent, we do the short path. You're supposed to get, I think it's 115 points in the short path normally. But since we're, you know, skipping stuff, we end up with just 96 points. So that can kind of tell you how much we're skipping.
And I just saw chat ask the same exact question I did a few days ago, which was, is there an all-death speed run? Because that would be fun.
It's such a blast too. I highly recommend looking it up. The all deaths run for this is just bonkersly hilarious. There are, I think it's 36 individual deaths. The way we organized it was based on the death messages, because you get like a clever kind of punny message every time there's a death in this game. So we did it all the individual death messages, because there's like, you know, a lot of these places you can just walk into the water on any of these screens and die, but we're not counting those as all different deaths, right? Makes it a little bit easier to organize, but it's great. You guys should totally check it out. Okay. So this next part, we're doing Beauty and the Beast. There is a little time save that we might get if we're lucky. That is called the Fabled Fast Walk. The Fabled Fast Walk, we call it Fabled because it seems to come out of nowhere. It's not technically random, but it's very hard to actually plan to execute. There really isn't a good way to do it. So it's kind of one of those, if you get it, you get it and enjoy your 4 seconds, and if you don't, you don't. So you're basically watching Alex, and if he walks very quickly here, we'll have gotten it. No luck, unfortunately. That's marathon luck for you.
I want to see it.
It's very funny. It's basically just like a zip, and he looks very weird because his legs are still moving in the zip, so he's like... It's very, very funny. Okay, so we're coming up into like the very end of this run. Like I said, it's quick, y'all. We're already there. And we're gonna go ahead and get into the castle. First, I have to go back to the pawn shop. So you may have noticed I continue to go back to this one shop over and over. And you're probably like, why do you keep going back here? So this pawn shop is a nice little function here where you give them a coin at the beginning, and then you're able to basically rent out items, but only one at a time. So we have to come back here often to switch out the active item. So we go there, I think 5 times. It's very common to like, oh shoot, there, okay. It's very common, sorry. Oh my gosh, please. Okay, sorry. I had to reset my zip. Zips are funny, like if you zip onto a screen, you basically zip everything else on the rest of that screen. But if you don't zip onto a screen, you have to like regain zipped status, kind of how I like to think of it. So that's what I had to do. I had to regain that zipped status so he would put on his disguise quickly. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead. Yes.
By the way, there were guard dogs out in front of there, and they are great.
Do you remember any of the names of the guard dogs?
I forgot.
So the ones
I feel
outside are
bad.
Sergeant Gruff
Alexander.
and Woof. Yes, Woof is outside. And then up here we have Wolf and Bay. And yes, they're all...
I'm sorry, that is Franker
Isn't
Z.
it amazing? Yes, spam the Franker Z's for the guard
Z.
dogs. They're the bestest. They're all good boys. They're good boys.
Good boys.
Now, the absolute best guard dog is Captain Saladin, who is on my shirt today. Oh my God, that was almost a rip. We're fine. Everybody calm down.
I just saw that too.
Oh my God, I bet my face was excellent during that. But yeah, Captain Saladin is the best one. This pillar I'm hiding behind at the very top of it is actually a statue of Captain Saladin that he talks. Like if you talk to it, it will talk back to you. I'm not quite sure how they have a talking statue, but everything in this game is weird. So, you know, I wish I could say it surprised me, but it doesn't.
Chat's dog emotes right now are killing it. Thank you all for all the dogs.
I'm all about it. Okay, so at the end of this game, we're basically interrupting a wedding. We're revealing that the Casima that we see is not actually her. It's this genie that's been being a jerk to us the whole game. So we're going to reveal him for who he is. And then we're going to go ahead and fight the big baddie, right? So during that fight, we need to incapacitate the genie. And how we do that is he has this weird reaction to mint, right? I'm not quite sure why. I don't think there's anything in canon about it. But what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to grab a peppermint leaf in a different portion of the game and give that to him here. But there's another mint in this game that's in a candy dish at the beginning of the game. You should never have that candy at the end of the game because you typically lose it to the gnomes. But since we skipped the gnomes, we have it. And it's so weird that the programmers decided to make that little mint work at the end of the game, even though you should never ever have it at this point in the game. It's very, very beneficial for us because we don't have to go get the peppermint out of the cave. It saves like 35 seconds, I think. So we're coming up on time. We're gonna fight. The nice thing about this is that we gave that dagger to Casima earlier, so she's actually gonna break out of her bonds and she's gonna save us. So it's a nice little twist on the damsel in distress story. But we're going to, the final time is gonna be me hitting the baddie with the sword, which is gonna be 3, 2, 1, now. There you go. And that's King's Quest 6.
Great job.
Woo, I did it. I can't believe it.
You did it. That was fantastic.
All right, awesome. So yeah, so we've got this little cutscene that I can let run. I'll do a quick little plug for our community. The King's Quest speedrunning community is the best community in the whole world. I'm convinced of it. I put it together 5 years ago when I first started running this game. I was only the second person to have ever run this game, and it has progressed a ton. The world record back then was like 25 minutes now, and now it's 15:19. I have a 15:29, so I'm getting close again. But it's the best community. We're now like 80 people in the King's Quest speedrunning Discord. We run all different kinds of King's Quest games, from 1 to even Mask of Eternity, which doesn't count. Even the new 2015, the remakes and all of that stuff. If a King's Quest game exists, we run it. So please, if you're interested at all in these very, very fast, intensive runs, please come and join us. There is a run for you. But yeah, so now at this point in the final cutscene, I kind of need to know if we met that incentive or not. We're getting close.
So you did not, but not for lack of trying. They did manage to pull it up to just shy of 1,700 of the 2,500 total.
Too bad. Oh well.
At least we still get to see this beautiful marriage by dog.
I do.
By dog, yes. That's Captain Saladin. He's lovely. But yes, we get this lovely little wedding. It's actually a really sad wedding here at the end. See, there's nobody here. If you do the 100%, a lot of people show up to your wedding, but since we skipped a lot of things, nobody wants to come to our wedding.
No friends.
No friends, no friends at all. But yeah, so that's the run.
Excuse my interrupting your joy.
I'm sorry?
But I wish.
Sure. So thanks so much. I'm so happy that I got invited to do this. Once again, plug for the King's Quest speedrunning community. If you're interested, please join our Discord. We're the funnest. You can find a link on our speedrun.com page. And yeah, come join us. And
Great
support
job,
the
Jackie.
Fund. Please donate.
Thank you so much, Jackie. That was a fantastic run. Very, very silly. I love old DOS games. Uh, but I do want to actually read through a couple of those donations that come in. They did try their hardest. We have $25 from Bookworm. Says King's Quest was my favorite game series when I was a kid. So much fun to see it speedrun. Thank you, Bookworm. And we have a couple of $100 donations. $100 from David saying, seeing this game played really hits me in the nostalgia. Between Quest for Glory at SGDQ and now King's Quest 6, I'm so happy to see these Sierra classics haven't been forgotten. Best of luck and keep on speedrunning. And then also 100 from Ryan. Great to see all these talented runners supporting such an awesome cause. Thanks, GDQ, for putting all this together. Thank you both. All right, and with that run in the books, we are going to head over to some Twitch ads real quick. We'll see you on the other side while we get ready for Donald's run. All right, and we are back. We are getting set up for the McDonald's Treasureland Adventure run by my good friend Liz Starr. But before we get into that, I want to mention another donation incentive that we still have open: the stuffed animal cam for Ori and the Blind Forest DE. If that is met, Cutie Roo and Smash ESR's stuffed animals will be in the view of the camera during that run. It's going to be super cute. Definitely want to see those stuffies. That is a $4,000 goal. We are at $600. So again, my faulty math, 3,400 shy. That will be not after this run, but after the next run, which will be Octodad. So you've got a little bit of time to get those donations in, and I believe you can do it, especially if you want to get some of these awesome prizes. We have a $100 donation from Gilbert and or Sullivan, who says that you are all the very models of modern major speedrunners. Even when I read it slowly, I still can't say that quickly enough. We have a couple of anonymous donations came in. Three of them, in fact, one for $20, one for $25, and one for $50. No comments, but Still appreciate the generosity nonetheless. Thank you so much, Anonymous. You've been very busy today. And while we're talking about incentives, I also just noticed that we are rapidly approaching $18,000 in total donations. So if we meet that stuffed animal cam, we'll surpass $20,000 before the end of the night. So it's two things to push towards that I'm sure we would definitely love to see. All right. And before we get started, we have a word from Malala Fund. So enjoy.
Hi, I am Malala Yousafzai and I'm a girls' education activist. I know that for some of you, schools might not be open yet, while for some of you, they have reopened, but you are uncertain about going back to schools. But I want you to remember that nothing is more important for you than education, especially if you are a girl. Parents, teachers, and leaders, we know that 12 years of education for girls strengthens our families, communities, and countries. Please do everything you can to make sure all girls can re-enroll in school. Students, schools must be safe for you and your teachers. Remember to wear a mask, practice social distancing, and wash your hands to protect yourself and everyone around you. Whether your school is open or not, I hope you will do whatever you can to keep learning. Even though it may have been many months since you have been to school, don't lose hope and don't give up on your education. I know you have dreams and ambitions, and I believe you can make this world a better place. It all begins with education, so go back to your school as soon as it's safe.
All right.